Hello, theme park fans, and welcome to episode 89 of the E-Ticket Report. My name is Chris Wakefield, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Ryan Barr.
Howdy.
Tommy Hawkins.
I'm back from fighting those RICO charges, baby.
And Jalen Harvey.
What the fuck?
He didn't say he won. He just said you fought him.
What the fuck?
All I'm saying is, I asked if I could get my case put in a federal court, and they told me no. So,
oh my god! I'm surprised you know what RICO charges is. You've been keeping up with the Gunny and 21 Savage situation? What the fuck?
No, the Trump situation.
Oh, I was on a completely
hey, I can't confirm
mind.
or deny that I'm a co-conspirator. It's just happens to be at the same time, just so we're clear.
God.
All right?
Oh my god, that blew my. I'm surprised Tommy knew what the fuck RICO. Oh my god, let's go. Let's get into this.
All right, so last weekend we had the what's it called, Ryan? The Destination D23 something.
Oh yeah, I just thought of it as Destination D23. I don't know what your little specialty.
Yeah.
It's like the mini D23, isn't it? Where
mini D23.
It's in the contemporary convention center,
right? Which is huge, by the way. We got a lot of announcements, a lot of details, a lot of dates, a lot of photos of ride vehicles. Like, there's so much detail they packed into this thing. The internet's just aghast.
Sarcastic.
So,
You're being sarcastic.
Where do you want to start with our announcements for this?
Well, just go to the article first. Jesus.
We go in order of when they announced stuff, because they started before the Saturday event. They did release stuff about Shanghai and the Disney treasure.
Ryan, how many listeners do you think care about Shanghai?
Well, the Zootopia thing is what I'm getting at. Zootopia.
They dropped a few photos, didn't they? They dropped
a lot of photos. They dropped videos of the animatronics,
which we've seen.
Look really impressive.
It seems like they're going to have puppets there all the time.
So, okay, let's start with Zootopia then. So, everyone and their mother thought Zootopia was going to replace Dino Land. And once I saw that, that's when I knew it was not going to happen. Once everyone catches on that quickly, it's like during the Great Depression, before it just kicked off, Joe Kennedy, JFK's father, was getting his shoes shined. And the shoe shine boy said to JFK, my stocks are Joe Kennedy. He said to Joe Kennedy, my stocks aren't doing too well. What are you picking, sir? And Joe Kennedy said, that's when I knew it was time to get out of the market. If this guy thinks he knows what's going on, it's time to get out. And the exact same thing happened here, where everyone knew it was going to happen, so it was a lock that it wasn't going to happen.
But I did say to you, didn't I? I said, I can't believe that they would build a brand new e-ticket attraction and then not want to clone it, because it's just in their fucking DNA nowadays to do that.
Well, this is already a clone. Let me get to this.
Yeah. We'll get to that. But what I'm saying is, that packaged product of Zootopia e-ticket attraction, I can't believe that they would spend all that money on them animatronics and everything else and then go, we're not going to use it again.
Well, my thing is that they're not cloning the Zootopia ride from Shanghai, though. They're doing something else.
True, but I've kind of been saying, and other people have been dropping hints that it could still go somewhere else anyway.
But yeah, anything
but
could happen.
I didn't see why they would insist on putting Zootopia as a ride and land in, but rehash an old ride system that probably needs a bit of work. So it just didn't make sense. None of it really added up. We kind of knew with the next door neighbor, the Moana thing, that it could have been, there was rumors of it being a coaster. There was obviously the concept art where it was a log flume. So it could have gone either way. So, and all of us were pretty cynical about the fact that it's they've offered this stuff up rather prematurely.
Tommy, I think you saw a different presentation, because they are going to bring in the rehashed Indiana Jones ride, possibly, and they're not doing the Moana thing, and they're not cloning Zootopia.
At least
No,
not
but
here.
my point is, like, Indiana Jones is basically a clone. So they're bringing a
Right.
different clone in to
Yeah.
save money rather than
Yeah.
fully modifying an old ride system and turning it into Zootopia, which is obviously going
Right.
to be a lot more time and a lot more money. They're literally just lifting, by definition, they are cloning something they've already got on the West Coast and putting it
Yes.
in. But the difference is most of that shell of that clone's already built out, and it's going to be a relatively quick changeover where it's going to be very little effort, you know?
Is
So it's
anyone
not
here
a big
excited
deal.
about the possibility of Indiana Jones coming to Animal Kingdom?
Well, I hate dinosaurs, so I'm happy with that. Because I just feel like dinosaurs just a bit shit, really.
The concept, the execution, the condition it's in, what about it don't you like?
Not the concept of dinosaurs. I like the idea of going on a ride with dinosaurs, but it's just so dated, isn't it? It's just so like it reminds me of that. You know that where's that place? Oh, I can't remember where it is. It's in the mid. It's in the sticks somewhere. That shitty dinosaur boat ride.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that roadside ride. It just kind of gives me that same kind of vibe, and I'm just think like
It's in
not
Gatlinburg,
really.
I think.
It's not. Yeah. That's the one. It's not really very Disney. Maybe back in the
Okay.
day when it first opened, but now, no, it's just a bit shit.
Jay can
Really
speak to
dingy
this,
and dark.
and I can speak to this, because we are the only two here that have been on Indiana Jones in California. In
Well, Chris.
California, Indiana Jones works, right, Jay? Like in that park, it works. But if you put that ride in any other park, it's going to seem outdated. I'm sorry. It's a great ride.
It doesn't-
I love it. But it looks outdated. It feels outdated, but it works for Disneyland.
It's one of those things that, I mean, they replicated over in Japan. I've also done Japan's version. That one just feels absolutely fine. I think, especially with how it's integrated into Lost Delta as the ride of
Right.
Lost Delta, it just works perfectly over there.
And,
I feel like this
and
is one of
Tokyo is
these-
its own monster because they do their own maintenance. They have a maintenance budget, an actual maintenance budget. But in California, with the same kind of maintenance routine they have in Florida now, that thing's going to get run down real fast. A lot of stuff's not going to work real fast.
But like what you said in the group chat, they're just doing it because it's cheap and easy. I think Indiana Jones is one of those things that kind of just like it's an institution at this point. People know of Indiana Jones Adventure. People like it. Shit, we're on our like Peter Pan's Flight. We got a new iteration of Peter Pan's Flight in like 2016, and we're getting a new Peter Pan ride. Like the character's still, it's just something that people like. Even if you're not even big into Indiana Jones, you know the ride. The ride's been around for like 30 years. It's proven itself. It's just an easy layup in terms of technicality and also throwing it in there. People know it's a good ride, or people know that they like that it's a Disney ride that has lasted like the test of time. How old is the thing? Like what? 30 years old at this point?
Yeah.
It had to be like
It's in its 30s.
mid-90s.
And it's still one of the most like visited rides in that park. I think it'll do fine. If you just throw it in there with
I've really not seen anyone that's been up in arms about it. It just seems a pretty
Yeah, I think the problem-
low-hanging fruit for Disney, really.
With
Yeah.
Dinosaur is that kids can't go on it, or if they do, they're terrified. Indiana Jones is not as bad. It is still scary and like fast in the dark. But
Yeah, but is it more like, because, I don't particularly, like, even as an adult, I just think Dinosaur is pretty dark and dingy and boring. So I can imagine as a kid being like jostled around in the dark. It's not exactly fun. Whereas
I really like the
Mummy
cue
is
for
sort of dark and light and dark and light. And I know it's a different type of ride, but it's got its like dark, scary moments, but it's still a bit more. Is it a bit more like that in terms of not so dark and dingy and weird?
when Dinosaur is, all the effects are working and it's in its heyday, I'd put it up there with some of the best. Probably up there with Mummy.
They reduced it down. They watered it down. I think that was the major like downfall. They thought people said that it was too scary, it was too intense, it was too much. So they kind of just lowered it and got rid of a lot of the more impressive effects just to be able to
Isn't it
appease
because
people.
I'm sure people were getting off it and just throwing up though, weren't they?
I think that's with any
I'm
of
sure
those type of
someone's
rides.
given me some stories of people constantly getting off that ride and throwing up.
And before we get too deep into this, I want to remind you that this Indiana Jones to Animal Kingdom actually has not been confirmed. They just teased it once again. So there's no dates, no construction moles, no plans even. This is just, we're just playing footsie with it.
Can we sort of address the overriding thing that I got from it, where they were very much they played an absolute blinder in terms of the language and the comms that they were using, because they again reiterated how they're going to be spending billions, they're going to be doing this, but with the DeSantis, the lawsuits ongoing, they haven't actually committed to say, right, we are going to spend this money, and then lose all their leverage with that court case and the court of public opinion. But they've still been standing there going, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but we're not actually going to do it just yet, but we're going to do it. I thought that was pretty impressive.
I think the DeSantis thing gives them cover to not do it. I think even without the DeSantis thing, they probably still wouldn't be doing it. I just think this gives them cover to go, oh yeah, DeSantis, we gotta wait for that to shake out. We don't know yet. Sorry. 5 years.
But that was what it was going to be anyway. If they started breaking ground right now, it's not going to happen until 5 years when he's long gone. So who knows? I think that it's the same thing as what it was with Epcot. It's just going to be another 5 years out. We're not going to see this thing until the end of the decade. And I think that's also what kind of halted me even giving a shit.
I got the impression, though, with putting in a plan like that they could do what you just said, like just be like, oh, we'll do it in 5 years. Or if they started panicking in another year and a half / 2 years, that they could put it together a little bit quicker, because it's a relatively quick, easy redo.
Yeah, a normal company could. Disney cannot.
Yeah, but they're gonna, there's gonna be a come to Jesus moment at some point, isn't there? And they're gonna have to go, oh fuck, we need to.
I've been saying
money.
that for 10 years.
They kind of know it, but right now,
think about
it's like they're in denial.
Ryan, you're good at this. Think about the dynamics of the way traffic would work in that park if you take not only Dinosaur but Dino Land out of the attraction lineup. Just the space to hold people. When that closes, what are you going to do in Animal Kingdom past 1 p.m.?
That's the thing. I think Disney doesn't care at this point. They can live with that park. Either, just they can also cut down on labor, as much as I hate to say it, and just make that park like the economy park as they have, and run it like that, short hours and stuff. But but you're talking about also, since we were talking about Zootopia, they're also talking about closing the Tree of Life.
Tough to be a bug.
Which,
oh my gosh!
Which closing both
people eater.
I can't see them doing that. Like that just makes that park
not at the same time.
That park would be nothing to do. They'd have to plus that park a bit before taking either one down.
The realistic. Let's say that all of these three things are 100% confirmed. Yeah, let's just say that's. I know it's insane that we can say that, but in what order then would you do it? Because surely the first thing they'd have to do is build whatever the fuck the Encanto thing is, because there's nothing. Primeval World is gone, right? So they would have to build on something new to then close either Dinosaur or Bug's Life to then build that next thing.
Yeah.
So either way, it's going to it'll be slow rolled out into the park, won't it?
For sure.
Even if they behave like a normal company.
To recap and back up a little bit, they teased an Encanto Land along with Dino Land would be half Encanto, half Indiana Jones from what it looks like. And a lot of people are thinking the Encanto piece is not actually a ride, but more so a meet and greet, which is not very high capacity.
Who's decided that, though?
Well, no one's decided anything. That's the thinking is that people are thinking that's going to be a meet and greet / experience like Moana is. That's from what, maybe I'm saying too much and I shouldn't be saying this, but that's just what I heard.
From what I've heard, they already have the entire attraction done. It's going to be like Mystic Manor, but it's between that and
I'd rather that,
the cheaper option. But what do you think they're going to go with at Walt Disney World?
There's no way we're getting a Mystic Manor clone.
What do you think they're going to do?
Encanto.
Cheap fumble bags McGee over here. Like, what the fuck do you think they're going to do?
And
These
the sad part about this is that, yes, they're being cynical, but the sad part is that the odds on favorite is that none of this will happen, except for maybe Tough to Be a Bug being Zootopia. We can all see that. They release concept art. They confirm they're doing that. But the rest of this, we're like, it's like 70-30. It's not going to happen.
Here's one thing that I like about this is the fact that they are testing these out in front of audiences, but at the same time, this is the worst time to do it. This is like, it's the same problem that they did at D23, where this is where you're bringing us into your war room. This is where we're inside of, like, the planning meeting for what you really are going to do, instead of just saying, we don't want to commit to a plan yet. So here's what we are thinking, and then let's bring out the old Cheero meter and see like how much claps goes, and if it goes over a certain thing on the Cheero meter, go. We're going to do that.
I got to tell you this, as someone who works in the creative industry, I would be so, and you could see it in Bruce Vaughn's face, I would be so embarrassed to stand in front of the audience and say, we might do this. I might do this. I can't say if I want to do it or not, but you could see Bruce Vaughn during the presentation physically cringing. He couldn't even look up. He was looking down the entire time like, yeah, it's under consideration. He was so uncomfortable because any creative worth their salt would never do that. You would never stand in front of an audience and go, here's my unfinished painting. I might do it. I might not. Here's the pencil sketch. Like, you would never do that before it's actually finished. That's like,
it should be
creative 101.
Ahead,
you don't do that. You don't tease your audience to what they might get, knowing you can't deliver on that. You would never do that.
At the very least, it should be an email or a Parks blog post. Like, that's what that should, like, the things that we are considering, and gauging people's reaction off of that, and seeing what the streets are talking about it. But not when you're up on stage in front of everybody and their goddamn mother, and right down the road, something much bigger and better is coming, and you're just saying we might do this. No, dumbass. Don't something.
Give your audience the opportunity to get their hopes up and to blue sky in their own heads. Oh, Indiana Jones, I would want to see this and this and this and this and this, knowing you can't deliver on what everyone wants. You don't throw it out there like that so people can, in their own heads, imagine what they want, and you can't deliver on it. You don't ever do that. That is a no-no in the creative industry. You don't ever, not even to a client. I wouldn't even go to a client and say, I might do this for you. I might do that for you. Because the imagination runs wild, and I know I can't live up to those expectations. That's crazy.
But it almost feels like it's almost like the equivalent to you, Chris, taking a meeting with a client and saying, right, I've got this problem. I need to come up with this kind of ad. And you go, well, in the most broadest of brushstrokes, you can go, oh, well, we could do this type of ad, or we could do this type of ad, or this type of ad. But you've got to get your checkbook out and give me the money, right, and then we'll do it. And really, what comes across to me is that basically it does seem that Imagineering have got all these ideas, they've got all these plans, but no one in the bean counting department is going, here's the green light, here's your money. So they can stand there and say, oh, we've got this idea and this idea, but sooner or later the company's got to realize that their division that actually makes the money needs to spend money to make them more money, because that's essentially propping up the rest of the business.
And that's where it lies, because right now, more so than ever in the last 20 years, parks and resorts and experiences is the cash cow that is propping up the studios, propping up Disney Plus, it's propping up broadcasting and ESPN. It is the cash cow that is propping up the entire company, and they have a $15 to $20 billion payment they got to make on January 1st to NBC, Comcast Universal.
I think we missed
So
some of that, Wakefield. You kind of
Yeah.
came in like Megatronish.
Sorry, they've got a huge payment they got to make to Comcast and Universal at the beginning of the year for the Hulu acquisition, $15 to $20 billion, and Parks is holding up the entire rest of the company right now. The Parks profits are, and that's the real thing no one's talking about. Really, is that how this company is almost like a house of cards with the debt they're holding, the debt they're about to acquire, and only one division is making money, and that's Parks.
So all they've been doing is cost cutting, and as much as we can probably get onto it in a minute, but Chapek and his little minion Damaro did a good job of cutting as much, like, what's the word I'm looking for? As many of the losses out of the Parks division as possible, but there's nowhere else they can go with that now. So they're not got any money. So all they can do is keep making the money that they're making, but it, like I said, it's going to get to a point. It might not be this financial year, but it's going to get to a point where they're going to have to get their wallet out if they want that to continue to make them a fuckload of money. They need to do more, and they know they need.
And those returns will start to dwindle as less and less people go to the parks and get tired of being nickel and dimes. Those profits will begin to slide a bit, which worsens the situation.
And essentially, it is like history repeating itself. I brought it up again the other day. What happened when Eisner took over the first 10 years? They scalped people, and then they lost like 5 million visitors in the space of 6 years or something like that. I'm not saying that they're going to lose 5 million visitors, but they could lose a hefty chunk and even more when Epic opens. So it's the same conversation we're having, but it's not some hypothetical thing where like us four are going, oh, well, this might happen. The evidence is there. It's beginning to happen, and other people are picking up on it. So if we can see it, then surely they can see it themselves. Surely they know.
And like I said offline with you guys, other companies are onto Disney's game now, and they're eating their lunch. Universal, their cruise industry, Great Wolf Lodges that were packed over Labor Day weekend with normally people who would be at Disney were going to Great Wolf Lodge, going on cruises. So their market share is shrinking, and it's not sustainable. Even though price per guest is up because you're nickel and diming them, your market share shrinks. That's not sustainable. Anything else from Destination D23 presentation? What did we miss?
Oh! Can we talk about the fact that, and I'm surprised actually that no one's really reacted to this, but everyone seemed to think that, like, I don't know, that we were going to get some Illuminations 3.0 or something like that, but it just seems we're getting Harmonious with slightly smaller barges.
Yeah.
No, no barges, because they said in that presentation that there's fountains and everything. So that says to me that they're going to have smaller units that's still going to have fountains.
Jay, how much do you love this?
I'm doing my best to be a little humble right now. I'm doing my absolute best. That's how I've been trying to be humble this entire fucking weekend since I heard that. But I would be like a black woman in hindsight. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? And what did I tell you was going to happen? Exactly what the fuck just happened. Illuminations isn't coming back. They didn't spend the past half a decade shoving these characters in just to go back to that original shit. If you thought that was going to happen, you played yourself. And please go down to the clown store and get yourself some shoes. That's all I'm gonna say.
I said that I thought Harmonious was good in places but flawed. The ending made no sense, ending on a ballad. So if they've gone back to the drawing board, and the barges that I really didn't give a shit about, and I've been pretty clear that I really didn't care about them, I thought they were all right. I just thought the content of the show needed a bit of work. I think it could be a good show. I think it could be something that it could be a modification that makes the original Harmonious thing better, and then it shuts the people up about the barges, but then they'll be back to whining, well, it's not Illuminations, and there's no fire barge, and there's no this, and I want Disney to be a museum, and I want to cosplay my childhood at Epcot, and I want it to be just like it was when I was 8 years old going to Epcot, and I don't want anything to change, and it's always got to be the same.
You know what's funny is that they not only confirmed that we're going to get, Disney music in Harmonious too. But if they also came and were like, look, while we're at it, the Country Bears, we're going to Disneyfy those motherfuckers too. Like, it made me cackle. It made me cackle like an evil son of a bitch. Like, it was just funny. It's really fucking funny. I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
Do you remember when
that's peak comedy?
Corliss, like, what did he say? Didn't he say
he lied about some bullshit with the Toy Story marionette play thing that was going to go there?
But people were up in arms that like Jamboree could be like modernized or Disneyfied or whatever, weren't they? And that's basically what's happening now.
It's so funny.
To be fair, I've never been in Country Bear Jamboree because that boring, generic, whatever stuff doesn't appeal to me. So maybe I would set foot in the door if it was some songs I actually knew. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
Well, hold on.
What?
It's worth going in at least once. That shit is hilarious, Tommy.
Nah.
That thing is, if you want to make fun of some redneck motherfuckers, you go to Country Bears.
That's a great show.
It makes me, I am dying laughing the entire time. And how, especially given that I live in like a rural part of Tampa where I see tons of rednecks all the time, my ass is on the floor. This shit
that
is
whole
hilarious.
show, those are Florida rednecks, not Texas rednecks or Alabama. Those are Florida. The singers were from Tampa and St. Pete. Like that's a Florida show.
Hold on. They are not from Tampa. They are from Thonotosassa, the redneck part of Tampa. They're Bradenton. Not from. They're not. Don't even do Bradenton like that. Like they look. They are from They're from like. Oh my God, they're from like Idlewild, someplace up there. Like they someplace in like between Gainesville and Tampa. Like that's where they are. That's where they're from. They're in them backwoods, boys.
Yeah, that is a Florida show to a T.
That shit is hilarious, son.
Guys, you're really selling it to me. It's really, really something that I now want to go and see. Like,
Tommy, next time you come down here, we going, and you gonna have to pick me up off the floor.
If we can go drinking at that new Pirates Tavern or whatever the fuck they're building, that I've upset people. Apparently, I don't like to have fun.
Oh goodness! Oh, Tommy is in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, Tommy, you're a dick.
I'm a real dick because I just thought something was cringy. How about that? Disney doing something cringy? They would never do that, would they?
You know what?
Well, okay. Talk about the tavern. Which will be another Oga's / whatever.
That's what I was thinking.
With pre-mixed cocktails that are overpriced and watered down, and it'll be crowded with bloggers for the first 2 months it's open, and no one can get in, and it'll be meh.
Good.
This is a company. These theme parks are for content generation. That's why you're seeing more bars like this, more meet and greets, and less rides. It's hard to do content on rides. It's easy to do content for Instagram and TikTok with meet and greets and expensive drinks. Less rides, more bars, more merchandise, more Instagrammable moments. That's the Disney way nowadays.
That being said, my ass will be there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to the pirate
I will
bar.
tell you right now, booze.
Oh, God.
Booze will not make Magic Kingdom more enjoyable. I have drank at over the Skipper Canteen. It just turns into with all the little kids running around. It just turns into like a fucking hurdle race. It's not fun, folks. It's not what you think it would be. It's not like Epcot. That many a time a kid has almost made me like just fall over after drinking at that damn park. It's
they're watered down, expensive. You're paying $30 for a watered down drink. Come on now. Let's not. I love the original Trader Sam's in California as much as the next guy, but I'm not kidding myself about what it is.
Oh well, I get drunk easy, so I'm good either way. That sounds like a skill issue, Chris. That sounds like a skill issue.
I'm half Irish, so okay. What else from Destination D23?
Test Track 3.0.
New test track.
This is probably really going to happen, right? This is a real for real thing.
Yeah, wouldn't be hard to do.
So all they've done is re-upped the sponsorship with Chevrolet, have they? And then they've bunged them some money to refresh it.
Yeah, it's been 10 years since the last one.
So it's entirely to be expected, and of course it's definitely happening because Disney aren't paying for it. Is that the the long and short version of it.
Yeah, from the rumor I heard, the Imagineers actually went to Chevy for this, but I don't believe that. I feel like Chevy. It feels like to me Chevy is there's a pattern going on where it seems like every 10 years or so they come up to Disney and they're like, all right, now it's time for a refresh. Just like how they did with World of Motion. After like 10 years, they're like, okay, look, we need a refresh. After like Test Track,
it's probably contractually,
it's
it's probably written into the contract that if they want to continue the sponsorship after a set amount of time, they've got to reinvest to thingy. Or it might be that the contract says that Disney have to refresh it every whatever. But either way, for me, it's clearly a legal matter rather than Disney going, oh, you know what? We really should, like, Test Track's looking a bit tired. Let's do something about it. You know?
I hope they bring in like celebrities to do a pre-show again. That's what it's missing currently.
That
So
always
were they
feels dated.
alluding? I couldn't understand it because I thought someone said they were alluding to original Test Track, and then someone implied that they were alluding to World of Motion. So what?
Yeah, that'd be cool too if they brought in some story.
They seem to be. So a lot of people think that they're just going to bring back all of World of Motion. No, from what they said is that they're going to bring back the optimistic spirit of World of Motion. So it's just going to be a little more peppy, a little more upbeat, as opposed to kind of the Tron thing that they're doing right now. It's not just going to be like, oh, we're going to bring in the sea monster and we're going to bring in the dude popping his head out of the manhole cover. Like, it's just going to be the spirit of it. I'm sure there's going to be some nods to it, just like Test Track 2.0.
It has got to be very different though, because for my, like last year when I rode Rewind, I think I'd done it 3 or 4 times the second day. No, I'd done it 3 or 4 times, and then I got off that ride and I was like, what do I do now? And like Test Track was basically a walk on. So I walked on Test Track and I was just like, it was like the most anti-climatic, like if I'd just been on a ride that was new, fresh, exciting, and like wow, and then I walk onto Test Track and it was just like a shit, like dollar store version of whatever I'd just been on in the dark. Yeah,
Well,
obviously
you
the
design a
outdoor.
car?
I did, but it was just like the only bit that was cool was when it went outside, but all the other bit, it was just dated and old and dusty. So for me, it would make sense that they would want to completely change what's on it right now to something far removed.
If I'm being
completely
honest,
fresh.
None of the Test Tracks have been good. I feel like every iteration of Test Track has always felt cheap. Even the first one definitely felt cheap past the queue. Like, it just felt like Test Track 1.0 felt like a DCA ride. It just was decent enough to keep people's attention. But the new one also feels cheap. So I'm hoping with 3.0, this could very much be like, let's get some sets in there. Let's spruce this baby up. Like, I like the design the car thing. People still get like a kick out of that. But if y'all want to cut that, go ahead and cut that. But let's get some set design in here. I'm sick of all the emptiness of that attraction. Like, it's always just felt kind of like just empty and cheap.
The problem is the ride track is kind of based on the story of the first one, and they can't really change that. So you just got to create a story around a ride track now, basically, which is lame.
I would have just, honestly, and it doesn't fit, and I really couldn't give a fuck, but I would have turned it into friggin' Lightning McQueen's racing, friggin' something or other, and just went
hold on, Tommy.
Full cars on it.
At Epcot?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I do not care.
Ryan, let's not kid ourselves. If Chevrolet drops that sponsorship, Lightning McQueen is coming in that bitch the next year. Like, it's not up for debate. We already know what it is. The only people keeping Test Track going.
A Tron thing, I don't care.
I mean, that's the only other one I see.
Doesn't have to have an IP.
But Cars doesn't have a ride here at Walt Disney World.
A sponsor, I mean.
They're going to close down the MGM thing and move that animatronic over to Test Track, and that's where
exactly.
It's going to
and then all they'd really need to do in that car park is just build the freaking what do you call it, like the landscape thing, and then
Just
there
the
you go,
parts of
you got
Radio
it.
Spring Races, the giant radiator, the little symbol thing. That's all it's quite literally is just going to be a bootleg version of Radio Springs Racers.
Let's
Like-
move on to
The
there's
most
other
exciting
Epcot
announcement.
stuff. They are bringing back Soarin' over California.
Oh God, I didn't even see that one.
Yep.
That was the biggest announcement, or the biggest fan reaction, at least.
I like
to Figment.
that. I like that version much more than Around the
Oh,
World.
I didn't. Can someone tell me what the Figment? Did they just bring out the Figment meet and greet thing? Then what happened at the
Yeah.
end? Because I switched it off.
Figzilla.
Yeah, so Figment's
He's back.
now also in the it's in the Image Works after you get off the ride on the first level, of course. But
Oh, the Vanellope thing, isn't it? Whether
yeah,
okay, yeah.
It's
Well,
I
that'll
was a
be
little-
exciting for all of the.
it's interesting. It's just like it looks like Figment, but just obviously a bigger scale version. But it looks pretty close. It's just the eyes are bulging out of his head.
Wasn't it? Was it Len on the last episode of Disney Dish was saying how like that park, that whole everything in that building is just like the worst performing one. Do you really think that a Figment meet and greet in that building is going to push the needle?
Well, it had like a
What
3-hour
did
wait.
I
didn't it?
just say, Tommy? Disney parks today exist for social media, and this will play well on social media. It's not about
when he
rides and
falls
attractions.
over and everyone
Exactly.
everyone
This is for
retweets.
social media. Less rides,
But
more meet and greets.
Social media is going to get more regular people going into that building and using it. Oh, is it? Let's be
No,
honest.
but it will get 16 billion views on TikTok, and that's what they show to the board. They go, look at how popular we are. Look at how relevant we are.
He
We
fell
are-
over. He fell over twice today.
Well, apparently every character who has gone through that portal has fallen down. Has like fallen.
There's video of Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope falling.
Like something is going on with that floor, and I don't know. He might be tripping over old ride track, which would actually be pretty hilarious if that's the case.
Yeah.
Anything else from Destination D23? There's got to be something we missed, right?
I'm
So
trying
the
to
Disney
rack my
Treasure, the cruise ship, looks pretty cool. They got a Coco restaurant, a Jungle Cruise
God, yeah.
lounge. They have a presidential suite themed to Epcot. A
Yeah.
Nautilus bar, like a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea bar.
Yeah, if you've seen The Wish, where that Tiana Princess and the Frog restaurant or bar is, it's not a huge, like, we're thinking of it's not a huge space. It's like,
It looks the same as the Wish.
yeah, exactly. So I will say this is not a hit so far with Disney cruisers. I'm in a bunch of Disney cruise groups, and they wanted something more or better out of the Treasure, and they're not getting it. So it's not going over well. But prices for the inaugural cruise in the first month of cruises are insane. It's like a 4 or 5 night cruise, and prices are going for like $6,000-$7,000 for an inside room.
Good
Jesus. That link that I sent you yesterday, Chris, for that $6,000 insane, the Great Lakes, that personal chef kind of cruise and all that looked insane.
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting, a cattle class ship for the same price. Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, Disney cruising is the last bastion for a lot of people of what Disney used to be and what it used to stand for when it comes to value, customer service, the Disney magic, essentially. And we kind of get that. That's why we go on Disney cruises a couple times a year. But even that too is being chopped away and kind of microtransactioned into non-existence a little bit. So yeah, but I won't be going on the Treasure anytime soon.
So you said, like, obviously in our kind of community, if you like, we're all basically saying Disney need to build more rides, new rides. So what are they saying you said, it's not what the people in that community, the cruise community, wanted.
So
what was their ideal scenario out of this?
The person who laid out this ship, the Wish and the Treasure, that Disney hired to design these ships had never even set foot on a cruise ship before. So there are just weird things.
Right.
The elevator placements, the ship layout is really weird and wonky. Lots of dead ends. The staircases aren't where they normally should be. Disney kind of over-engineered it just to make it look different and be different. And that was what happens when you have someone who's never actually set foot on a cruise ship before or designed your cruise ship. So a lot of the spaces, more and more, are being taken over. Say they shrink the size of the pool because they want to add more suites or add more upcharge spaces. And it's happening on Royal Caribbean too. So a lot of what used to be free or included in the price of your cruise is being taken away for an upcharge experience or more suites or more. That we see at Ryan and NFL stadiums and NBA stadiums where they take out seats and just make more suites and more, corporate suites. And that's where the moneymaker is.
Yeah.
Did they drop any details on the mega ship, the
Global Dream? They're going to call it the Adventure, which is funny because I'm going on the Adventure of the Seas in a few weeks for Royal Caribbean. I'm going on their version of Adventure. So it's going to go out of the Asian market. They confirmed that. I think it said Singapore, maybe. I forget. But I'm still of the mindset, don't be surprised if Disney sells this ship. They bought it for pennies. And again, they got to pay Comcast $15 billion pretty soon. They have a lot of debt. You can finish the ship and then sell it when it's done. I could see that happening. Setting up a new ship over there is expensive. Supply chains, you got to get food on the ship every week, that kind of stuff. It's an expensive operation, a startup cruising over there. So it's not the same as running a theme park in Asia. So
yes, but the cruise lines are operating at like 90-something% capacity, though, aren't they? And the cruise line's making money. And I've seen articles saying, "Oh well, one of the few things Disney's got left is the cruise line." So I'm not that cynical that won't happen, because it seems
here's a high value asset you can sell for a lot of money. You need cash. You can get a lot of cash for this thing. So, and you got to spend a lot of cash to start up your operations over there for cruising. A lot of cash you got to spend over there just to get food on the boat. It takes hundreds of millions of dollars to set that network up of suppliers and chefs and stuff. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if it happens. Just
how are the Asian Disney park markets doing at the moment? Their attendance is pretty good, right?
I would think so. I think if it was bad, we know about it. So it's not. We haven't heard about it. So I'm guessing it's pretty decent.
It's good enough for they still don't need to sell annual passes in Japan, apparently, at Disney. They have not been selling annual passes over there for years.
Weird.
I can see Asian marketed, designed, whatever you want, laid out for Asian market cruise ship, making them serious money, especially when it's so large. We can have like 4,000 guests or whatever. I think that's a money printing machine for them. I don't see why they would walk away from that, especially as they paid so little for the ship.
Right. Yep.
I know what you said about setting up food networks and all that, but it'll be all right.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, let's go to the CNBC article. What did we learn from last week's article on CNBC?
We learned so much
about the transition from from Iger to Chapek Tiger.
So, where to begin with that? Some of the big ones for me were the fact that pretty much Iger decided himself his succession plan and went completely against all sort of previous, even what he'd done. For example, when he got that job, when Iger got that job, he had to attend 15 interviews to interview for that job. But when Iger decided that Chapek was the man for the job, he ended up basically being instantly approved by Iger and Susan Arnold. And then because Iger had basically got the whole board in his court, they just went along with it and went against like any given sort of Disney sort of previous plans of succession that they done. The succession plan came from that Nike guy, Mark Parker, who done a similar thing where he picked his own successor. Iger sincerely thought that that sticking around for 22 months, that Chapek would be a collaborative leader. I think is the word that they used in the article. But pretty much, almost, it seemed like within a few days, Iger got buyer's remorse within straight away, and pretty much started to figure out straight away that Chapek was just going to do his own thing, and he seems to be quite arrogant and set in his ways, and obviously, as we all know, and we've been saying for a while, a terrible people person. He's just not good with people.
It's not just that he's arrogant. Lots of people in Hollywood are arrogant, but he just Chapek wasn't good at the job. And you can't be arrogant and bad at your job at the same time. That's the problem.
At one point in the article, it mentions that he was sort of being quite arrogant about how the company was even doing. And I think one of the things that McCarthy did was they'd practiced and rehearsed the earnings call for a couple of weeks, and then she dropped the real situation of what the books were doing, and he was arrogantly saying, "Oh, the company's doing really well," and he just wasn't willing to listen that actually the company wasn't doing as well as what he said, and that Wall Street weren't really happy, and that Wall Street had changed their thinking on streamers and what their expectations for streamers were. And that to me, that's a pretty major. What's the word? You can't run a multi-billion-dollar company and be completely oblivious to what's actually going on with your financials. That seems to be a pretty basic kind of part of the job, doesn't it?
It's insane that Disney has spent the last 5 to 6 years, building up to Disney Plus, and now paying the price for Disney Plus. They bought Fox because of Disney Plus. They have put themselves in so much debt because of Disney Plus, and it's not working out for them. They bet the farm pretty much on this one thing, streaming, chasing that dragon, chasing those Netflix dollars. And it's not working. It's not going to work. It's not going to get any better. Where do you go from here, from that standpoint? You're not going to have some hit show that's going to gain you 50 million new subscribers overnight. That's not going to happen in streaming. It doesn't work that way. Netflix said, as huge as Tiger King was for them, start of the pandemic, we all watched Tiger King. They said because of the way streaming works, they didn't make one dime off that show. They didn't net $1 profit off of Tiger King. It's impossible, for whatever reason, I still don't understand why, it's impossible to make money off of streaming. And Disney put almost all their chips 5 years ago into streaming, and it's not working. They bought Fox for streaming, and it's not working.
But what I don't understand, from having followed it from the get-go, is the excitement of Disney Plus was like, oh, the Disney Vault, blah, blah, blah. And then we've only seen a small amount of that actually really go on there. One of the things that Netflix was doing really well, and it's successful period, I think, before it tried to reinvent like the wheel with all these terrible movies and terrible original shows, was that it would get a load of content that people wanted to see, and that's where you'd go to find that content. So Disney have got that stuff in their vaults. They've got some pretty decent Fox stuff. And to be fair, in this country, a lot of it is on there, but not all of it. So what I don't understand is why they've got relatively cheap without the cost of residuals of shows in their things, where it doesn't mean that they've got to spend X billion spending money on all these brand new shows, is why they didn't sort of knuckle down and try and do less brand new shows, but make the quality fantastic and really dig into that old content and build it slowly and make it.
Because we've heard from executives at Disney, Fox, Fox, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Comcast, Paramount, they all say, and this is hard to believe, but they all say it, new shows drive the needle for subscriptions, not the old shows, with the exception of like The Office, and that's it. But other than that, they all say it's new movies and new shows that move the needle for subscribers, for adding subscribers. I don't know how that works, but they all say it. New stuff.
But then you just said what, like, one of the newest things that went on there at Tiger King didn't make them any money.
Yeah,
so
I know. I don't understand it.
It's just it
You're
begs
chasing
Disney
your tail.
bet the house. I mean, they pretty much have driven their Marvel franchise into the ground because they overproduce shows for streaming. Star Wars, they're trying to kill Star Wars because they're overproducing way too many shows and too much content just for streaming. They acquired how many tens of $billions in debt by buying Fox for streaming. It's insane how bad of a move this was that Bob Iger made by going all in. They were making bank by just licensing their shows to Netflix and Amazon and whatever, and just saying, yeah, give us $100 million and you can have this show for 5 years. Give me the cash. And they threw it all away to chase the dragon.
Okay, but one of the things that article does mention is when Chapek did come in and like tried to reinvent the wheel and got that. Who's the name of that guy that was just clearly is like
Kareem Daniel.
Yeah, and they took all that green lighting power away from the people that know their business, that have been doing that job for a really long time, that know what they need to green light. You know, if you go and read like Disney War, or what's the other book where it talks about like the good days of Eisner, when they were going through and they were deciding what to green light and what risks to take and all the rest of it, is those same types of people were working for Disney. Peter Rice. And what did Chapek do? Because Chapek he was so insecure about Iger coming back for his job that he cleared house.
Yep.
He got rid of all these people. He got rid of good assets for the company because they threatened him. And then he brought in, I put in my notes for Morel. I can't remember his first name. Jeff Morel. I've just got in my notes, Kiss of Death, because that man, when he came in, like we saw, like him, what did he do? He effed up on the Guardians announcement, didn't he? Accidentally announce the...
Yeah, he did, when it was going to drop on Memorial Day.
But that's the tip of the iceberg, because some of that stuff, that he really was the one that fucked it up for Chapek with all the don't say gay and everything else. Like, he messed that up big time. And then, you know, pissed off people within the board, like Susan Arnold, who's gay herself, and then like the whole... She was saying, guys, we should sign the HRC letter that all these other companies have signed on to, etc., etc. So we're showing our support, but we're not isolating ourselves. And then he's like, Morel's like, no, you shouldn't. Like, we need to stay out of it. We need to be less political. And then just made the situation 10 times
way worse.
Backfire.
You know.
That's how corporate America works. When I lived in Florida, I worked for a fairly large organization and was a middle-level manager, performed very well at my duties, very good manager. And I got a new boss that came in above me and above my department, a new VP, and I came home and told my boyfriend, I'm fired. I'm going to get fired. He's like, why? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not his person. I'm not one of his people.
Yep. So
that's the way it happens when someone comes in your department in corporate America. You can be the best employee in the world, but if you're not one of their people, you're gone. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I was gone.
Yeah. And the other thing there was a couple of other interesting things that came out of this was the fact that Iger had to overrule Chapek fairly early on in taking over, because immediately, unsurprisingly to any of us, Chapek wanted to furlough every like 100,000 people, wanted to instantly furlough them. And Iger was saying, let's just wait and find out what happens with COVID relief. And Chapek's like, no, I want to furlough him. And then Iger obviously ended up having to ring Nancy Pelosi and find out when the COVID relief package was going to be done. And she's telling him like 10 days. And Chapek still wanted to furlough everyone too early. He couldn't wait like a couple of weeks. He couldn't pay his staff a couple of weeks.
Not even a couple of weeks, a week and a half.
Yeah. So that tells you everything you need to know about how much of a manager, a good manager, Chapek wasn't. Because he really didn't obviously care about those people, did he? It's like they were nothing to him. And that's where, you know, the article...
Well, at the same time, he's being told, you're the CEO, you're in charge, And every time he tried to make a move, good or bad, every time he tried to make a move, Bob Iger was behind him going, actually, no, we're not doing that. And Chip Becker's like, wait a second, I thought I was a CEO. I thought I was in charge. He wasn't in charge for the first year and a half.
No,
but Iger's plan was basically that he would work side by side with him till the time ran out.
And
so
Iger is so stupid. He should have known that wasn't going to work. Iger, I'm sorry. That's you got to know better. You got to know better than that. That's his fault.
Maybe, but then maybe
not maybe. I don't have an MBA. I'm not very smart. And I can tell you that's not going to work.
It's his fault.
I wouldn't do that in my organization.
It's his fault for picking him and not going through the proper vetting procedure, because perhaps even his hand-picked board that he's got, if they'd all interviewed him, they would have gone, you know what, Bob? Like,
he ain't good enough.
He's not what you think he is.
And if you go back and read Disney War, even Michael Eisner knew, like, hey, we ain't sharing power. I'm in charge, okay? You ain't Frank Wells. He's dead. We ain't sharing power. This ain't a partnership like that. No.
Yeah. But it ain't like the Ovitz. It's not like the Eisner and Ovitz situation where like Eisner just got cold feet and then just threw his friend under the bus. Like literally, Chapek immediately showed his ass and showed himself what an incompetent moron he was. Day one. Whereas day one, so what I'm getting at, Chris, is maybe if it had been someone that was a more suitable candidate for the job, that Iger could have worked with him in that time while he was still in the company, and then Iger could have felt that he could have walked away, and then someone with thicker skin that was more able to prove they're more capable of doing the job wouldn't have spent that whole time, spent 3 years worrying that their predecessor is going to come back for their job because they were so terrible at doing their job. That's what it boils down to.
In the largest organizations in America, with the exception of maybe Nike, but every other organization, Coke, Apple, you name it, Walmart, when a CEO leaves, he leaves. There's no, I'm going to stay on for a couple of years and whisper in your ear. No, it's my chance to sink or swim. Because in a corporate America, you need, in 2023, with a company as complex as Disney, you need one decision maker. You need one person saying the buck stops here. And that's the way it is nowadays when it comes to that level of CEO. And sometimes they succeed and sometimes they get fired. And that's how it happens.
But as I said, he got the idea from the Nike guy. Now, come on, Nike is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's not some even corporate America company. It's a massive company. So clearly that situation worked, but Iger still didn't really, like someone that's like prides himself as having emotional intelligence, he just did a terrible job of picking his predecessor. What I still don't understand with the article is the timeline of everybody thinks that Staggs left because they picked Chapek, but the timeline doesn't seem to match because it says in the article, Staggs left in April 2016, but the article says that he didn't tell Chapek until early in 2017. Right, this is my plan. You're a shoo-in for the job.
No. Yeah, Staggs left because he knew he wasn't going to be the
ready. Next. He was ready, and Iger was ready to stay a little longer, basically.
Right.
Oh, okay. So
no, Iger.
But Iger renewed, and then Staggs left.
He kneecapped Jay Rizzullo. Iger was taking out every number two, so he was forced to stay on because Iger loves the job. What the real story is, and this is what no one's talking about or hasn't revealed yet, is why did Iger leave in January of 2020? That is never explained why he actually retired.
You gotta say that again.
Repeat that again, please.
Sorry. Yeah. The real story is why did Iger actually leave in January of 2020? What happened that made him want to retire or resign? And no one's talking about that. No one's actually saying, that's never explained why he actually retired in January of 2020.
Because I think
suddenly.
All of the things, all of his legacy stuff was coming to an end, and then he knew that pretty much that COVID was going to be a bit of a fucker for a while, and he wouldn't have been able to start any new legacy things. So it was like, well, I've got to go where my legacy's good, and here's the shit sandwich for Chapek. But that still doesn't fit in the timeline because his plan hinges on him sticking around for 22 months. So I'm not even sure it's about COVID. I'm not even sure it's about COVID, actually. It's a weird one.
There's more to that story. There's more meat on that bone. And maybe in 20 years we'll figure out what happened. But it was like overnight. Like Friday, he was like, okay, I'm CEO. And Monday he was like, hey, you guys, I quit. Like, what? What happened?
No, but that's not true because he told here's the weird thing though in that article. He told Chapek 6 weeks before, but Kevin Meyer didn't find out until the announcement, like a few minutes before. So that's weird that he kept it under his hat, but at the same time told Chapek like 6 or 7 weeks before, this is going to happen.
Well,
I'm going to do this.
But he had also fire drilled Chapek in the past, saying I'm leaving, and then didn't leave. So he'd already teased him before with leaving and then didn't leave. So that's not new. This time he just actually left. Something happened where he said, okay, this time I'm actually leaving. I am gone this time. Something happened.
No, he proved like he told, the article says that he told Chapek it was going to happen, and then he pretty much immediately, him and Susan Arnold said, we've recommended you, and then straight away the board approved it, and that was done. Right. That was 6 or 7 weeks before. So it wasn't
and
like
they had done
he's
that previously and then pulled the rug out from Chapek at the last minute.
No, he hadn't approved him before that point. He told him, yeah, I'm going to do this, but this is he actually did it. Six weeks later, he's got the job.
Yes.
And the great irony is that with the two people that he could trust, that he managed to completely screw over and piss off and lose, Staggs and Meyer, he can work collaboratively with them, and it seems that they're pretty much like reporting directly to him still unofficially. But the only way he would get them back is if they spend whatever billion or whatever on Handle Media. But we would get a kind of eyes and a wells situation, which could potentially be a solution to the problem.
Ryan Barr, I give you 1 day as Disney CEO. What are you doing in 1 day?
What?
You have 1 day as CEO. What changes are you making? Are you hiring someone? Are you firing someone? What are you doing for 1 day? Are you going to the Elton John concert?
I am waving the white flag to Universal and giving them
Jalen Harvey, you have 1 day as Disney CEO. What are you doing?
I'm immediately giving like cast members a mad amount of money. I'm taking my bag and I'm getting the fuck out of there. That's the goal. I'm getting the fuck. I'm not sticking around for that shit. I'm not. No, I'm good. And maybe give Kevin Feige like a week off because that man needs it. But other than that, I'm out. I'm giving the bag to some cast members and I'm grabbing my shit and getting the fuck out of there.
You guys wouldn't hire back Joe Rohde or
that's if Joe Rohde wants to come back. That's if Joe Rohde wants to come back. I mean, we're also talking about a company that has much bigger problems than just the parks. So
I would make the guy who's creating Futureport the recreation of Epcot in Unreal Engine 5.
Christ, Ryan.
As the head Imagineer.
You know what I wouldn't do? What some of these unhinged people think? I wouldn't sell the company to Apple. I wouldn't be doing that.
That was my next question is, what are the odds Disney is owned by Apple? We'll say 10 years from now. Is Disney owned by Apple 10 years from now? Yes or no?
It will not happen. It cannot happen.
I don't think it'll happen.
It can't happen. It's not even just... People think, it's just... the SEC. Every single country that these two businesses operate in would have to sign off for it, and they're not going to do it. Certainly the EU wouldn't sign up on it. UK wouldn't sign up on it. It's not going to happen. It physically cannot happen. Like, that's too much of a monopoly. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you now.
Why can't we have these things? I want the world to become like, I don't know.
The only thing that I could see them doing is selling like ESPN to Apple or something, a small part of the business. So then you get Apple Sports or some bullshit like that. I can see that happening, but not the Disney company that we know.
I don't think Apple would do it.
I don't think they would.
I don't know who's going to buy ESPN soon because so many rights to sports broadcasting are going to be due in the next 3 to 4 years, in the NFL, NBA, MLB are going to want a lot more. Who's going to take on those contracts as a buyer? No one's going to do that.
No.
That's the thing. All these earnings calls where they're talking about how much, like, but we're down this quarter because we spent so much for this, and it's all like the sports rights and stuff like that. And it's the same with Comcast. It's not unique to Disney, but like it just them NBA and all that. They've just become their own beasts, aren't they? Where it's just they might as well just make their own channels or whatever and sell their content direct because it's
in business school, which that will never happen, Tommy, because they're getting billions from networks now. So that's free money for them. And there's no way they can replicate that audience on that scale. In business school, they teach you that a company is starting to go downhill when they start chasing the easy money, the cheap money. And Disney getting in bed with sports gambling is like desperation 101. Like they are desperate. They're chasing sports gambling money.
Oh, I just remembered something that we didn't talk about on a separate thing.
Pete Warner, what?
No, the fact
you really want to talk about Evil Guy Fieri. You really want to go.
No, the fact that the Avengers e-ticket just seems to be Spider-Man Scoop.
It looks like a combination of Scoop and the Back to the Future simulator.
Oh shit!
I got big Spider-Man vibes from that. I got big Spider-Man Scoop vibes from that.
It's just a drawing.
Supposed to be the answer to them. I've always felt like this was supposed to be the answer to OG Spider-Man, and honestly, we're 5 years away from that shit too.
Well, someone said that with the time jumping from multiverse to multiverse, this might be something closer to Cosmic Rewind.
I can see that.
With that design of just jumping from... Yeah, so I've heard that also been said. And that would be, again, they've already designed it. They've already built it. They love cloning rides.
Do they have the space for it, though?
That's my concern, is I don't know if they have the space for that.
They don't have the space. I can't remember what I said fits in there. Oh, I can remember what I said fits in there. The Pandora Theater fits in that.
Well, what's
space.
across the street, Tommy, from that part of DCA? Is there anything like, because they can again build the tunnel underground and you go flying through underground and you come up and there's a show building and some empty parking lot across. I don't know what's across the street.
No,
they don't have space. Honestly.
Maybe well, if they were to get rid of the Hollywood section.
Well, how big is Crush's coaster in Paris?
Oh fuck, Wakefield!
I'm serious.
That thing is weak. The thing's weak.
So I'm just listening. I'm just saying.
That, like,
I'd rather a simulator.
Let me see.
But the cool thing about this concept is, the fact that, it is the multiverse and there's no like, they don't have to, they already have Spider-Man in there, so they don't have to like follow the rights thing. They can basically put any characters in there that they want to, which is cool. But
it's a pretty big chunk of land, but not big enough for Guardians.
It's basically
they already have the Guardians ride. They don't need something to that scale right next to it.
It's like
I think DCA could use a simulator like Flight of Passage.
But they already have Soarin'.
Soarin' is like barely a simulator.
You see them. I think they're gonna stick with Soarin', given the fact that.
Wait a second. I'm looking at this now. So behind Avengers Campus, where that e-ticket is a big empty parking lot.
It's 300 feet by 400 feet, right? So, which is tiny for what it's. If you look at like
the Cosmic Rewind building is like bigger than Spaceship Earth.
Yep.
It's
Spider-Man could fit in there easily.
It would have to be a baby version of that.
Right, yeah.
So what did I say? 400 by 300 feet. So I would say, how big is the Spider-Man show building?
It's not that big.
That? Let's have a quick look.
No, not big at all.
Now. So
at Iowa,
200. Spider-Man is 200 by.
It's the size of a CV fucking 300 Good feet. God!
It's at Islands or at DCA.
DCA Web Slingers
at Islands. It's 260. It's 260 by 340 feet.
So they could put something like that in there.
Yeah, and that's what it'll be.
I think
And
it's
they
going to
can
be a
maybe
trackless
take
version
some of the
that.
elements of cosmic rewinds, like the show ejection and all that kind of, and the physical sets, but not a track, not a roller coaster, not a fast roller coaster. You need size and space. You haven't got either of them things in that park.
I think it's going to be a trackless because they don't have a major trackless ride over there besides like Luigi's.
They just got Runaway Railway, but
Simworks.
That's from one
DCA.
side of the park. Yeah, DC doesn't have one. I think it's going to be a trackless.
I know Disney obviously like to do all these things themselves, but they do partner up with Oceaneering and stuff like that, don't they? But Simworks, who build the scoops, do a trackless version of the scoop. So it's just like the Spider-Man scoop, but it can go anywhere. So I could see
like
them doing something like that.
Wasn't the Antarctica ride at SeaWorld trackless?
Yes.
Yeah,
like
but that was some random company, wasn't it? That wasn't Simworks or Oceaneering. That was some literal random company. And that was like Vector. That was Vector. That wasn't it. That was weird. But anyway.
All right,
So
what else do we have?
I don't know. There's not much else, but the parks have like their own mottos now or catchphrases. I think they existed before.
Oh
but
God.
Magic Kingdoms is Fantasy Reigns.
Oh God.
Hollywood Studios, Let the Adventures Begin.
Oh God.
Epcot, Magic of Possibility. Animal Kingdom, Alive with Magic. A lot of this sounds just like so familiar. But
oh God. They should just done like magic for each one, like magic of fantasy, magic for movies, magic for possibility, magic of animals, just fucking that shit. Like Jesus fucking
Why
Christ.
do these parks need? I don't understand what are
It's
they?
like a tagline. It's a little tagline. It's a tagline.
They don't need it. No one's going to book a ticket based off of that. It's stupid. It's wasteful.
and then the Hatbox
It took them like
Ghost.
2 minutes to make it. I can clearly see that it took them 2 minutes to make that shit.
But yeah, they put it into the Disney word generator with magic and wonder and wish and fantasy and adventure.
That's some shit.
Oh,
I
can
wouldn't
we-
be
They used
surprised if
magic like
ChatGPT
twice.
was used.
Can we
I
talk
would
about
not
the
be
fact
surprised.
that I literally didn't know until Saturday that Muppets puppeteers clearly aren't unionised because they were the only ones that were appearing in the thing. So everyone was thinking, oh, they're going to announce some like Muppets thing, and it was just because they didn't have any celebrities they could pull on stage, right?
Oh yeah. Well, no, they kind of do that every.
I don't think
They
they
did
would
that
bring in
last year.
celebrities.
They did that at the last Destination D where they did have a few Muppets there, but this one in particular felt very Muppet heavy, and I know that pissed my ass the fuck off.
They always have celebrities. How can you say they don't have celebrities? They had that really awkward thing with the giant Hulk, and then what's his face was on screen.
No, I'm talking about at Destination D. They don't. Destination D, you get like YouTubers and you get like influencers. You don't.
We're at the contemporary ballroom, Tommy. There's no. The last celebrity that was there was Richard Nixon. Like
the most celebrity that I've seen there is when they put they had Will Smith for his new National Geographic show, and he addressed the crowd from a pre-made video.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean. They couldn't have any of that because they're not allowed to promote the TV shows even on video. I'm not saying they would necessarily be on stage, but I'm just saying they couldn't have anything like that because that breaks the strike. So they
Tommy, they wouldn't have done that either way.
It does.
Yeah, they can't do promos, anything like that. You can't do any promotions or go to anything along those lines. Right. And even some YouTubers fall under that guideline too, out in LA. So,
well, if they're SAG members, yeah, but
yeah,
but you got to get the ones that aren't members. There's still famous people that aren't members.
Who's the guy from Airrail?
The Muppets. They're the famous ones that aren't union members. That's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, no, they clearly they're owned, quite literally. All I know is y'all need to stop teasing motherfuckers out. You're playing with motherfuckers' emotion. You keep bringing these motherfuckers out here, and we don't get nothing. Like when he brought out Dave Goals and made a huge stink about that, I'm like, oh shit, okay, something's coming. They're already building something. They're building some kind of structure in Grand Avenue near Muppets Courtyard. So I'm like, well, is this going to be like a little tiny meet and greet or something like that? And then the whole entire thing goes through, and it's just like. It's like the Figment thing last year when they started like teasing people about like, oh, classic characters coming back to Epcot and the Imagination Pavilion that people love and everybody's on the edge of their seat and like we're doing a Figment meeting. It's like, stop edging people. Stop it. It's dumb. Stop
Honestly,
it.
when they with the Electric Mayhem and all that kind of stuff, I really thought that they would lean into the replacement for
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah.
And Jim Schill is very happy that didn't happen, by the way.
Why?
Who fucking cares what Jim?
He has like a vested interest in Rock and Roller Coaster. He hopes it never gets changed.
This man don't just stay retired. Like Joe Rohde doesn't say anything to none of you motherfuckers. Like Joe Rohde maybe comes out like every 4 months, but Jim Scholl is on that ass every day. And it's just like, God, move on or don't. Jesus, dude.
That contract still will run out, and I really would hope that Disney wouldn't renew that contract with that man in that band. So where does that leave them? Something's got to happen at some point. Can't stay like that forever, even if Jim wants
before
it to.
They used to make their own music stars with Hollywood Records with the Jonas Brothers and Lindsay Lohan. And so the early plans 10 or so years ago were to just put one of like make it Camp Rock or something like that. But now they don't do that anymore. So they're going to have to pay somebody, a new artist, for those fees for the rights, or just redo the whole concept and say it's a roller coaster. And it's a limousine, and it's what's the ride from DCA the old days?
Incredicoaster. Oh
no. Superstar Limo. It's Superstar Limo brought back to life.
I guess you could do that at the same time.
The rumor, the beauty of the rumor that it would be like a Muppets overlay or whatever is that they own that, and people know that stuff, and they know them characters. So that would have been the perfect, relatively cheap replacement and refurb for a ride that people generally like. It's a good ride, but I don't think it really matters. Like, you can easily put the Muppets in that studio. You could literally do the same concept to the ride, but replace the Muppets with Electric Mayhem and have Kermit and Miss Piggy or whatever just make a cameo. It would be perfect. And
but then you have the Muppets on either side of the park, like far apart from each other.
Who cares?
In Disneyland, they have Star Tours in one part of the park, and they have Galaxy's Edge on the opposite side of the park.
Yeah.
So,
but if somebody asks where the Muppets is, what is a cast member going to say? What?
Also, the Muppets
there won't be any
always
cast members
been
by
like
then.
an
They're going to be
embedded
AI.
thing.
Yeah, but if they
why not Cars? Like Cars is right next door. You're riding the fucking limousine. Just slap some eyes in the front of that bit, and let's just make it Cars. Like, it's.
So that'll be the second ride that we've armchair imagineered in this episode that gets a Cars overlay. I'm good with that.
I'm just saying, like, it's
Test
such an
track.
It's right next door.
Roller coaster. Job done. 2 things done.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Let's just enjoy the Aerosmith music a little longer.
No, I'm on the Superstar
Tower
Limo.
of Terror. Muppets Tower of Terror. Rock and Roller Coaster Electric Mayhem. And then you can get rid of.
When are you all going to realize this? That Bob Iger hates the Muppets, and he will never greenlight a Muppet attraction. Y'all lucky you got the Liberty Square thing. You're lucky you got that. Bob Iger hates the Muppets. Stop pitching Muppets attractions. It's not gonna happen.
Why does he
hit
like
a little
Zootopia,
too close to home in
Muppets?
2011? Because in 2011, the main villain of the Muppets movie was basically Bob Iger. And hey, he didn't like it, and he greenlit that movie, and so it's on him. But no, I don't think the man hates it. I just don't think it makes enough money for him to give a shit.
Walt Disney hated cats and women, and Bob Iger hates the Muppets.
He greenlit 2 movies in an ABC series.
He hates the Muppets.
I would take this. I would take the view that he's yet to see a return on investment that makes him go, let's drop money on
He
Muppets
just texted me and told me, I'm going to read it for you. Chris, I hate the fucking Muppets. So do that with do it with
see why you're over here lying and doing all that bullshit.
What you will. This is my inside source.
Wakefield, God came in and cut you. Wakefield, God came in. It cut you straight off. Look
I'm on a group text with Bob Iger,
Jim Henson, baby. That was
and
Jim
Braden.
Henson.
Me and Braden on a group text with Bob Iger. We have a direct line to Bob.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God. We've gone so far without having to hear about your little twink boyfriend. Life has been good. I haven't heard that name in forever, and here you go.
Hey, did you talk
it.
about him on the last show, or did you just wait until I'm on it?
Just wait for Tommy.
Apparently, I hate his guts, according to some factions of his little people that night up for him. Oh, why do you hate him so much? I was like, I just call out bullshit when I see it. That's all there is to it.
To be fair, Braden said Zootopia was not coming to Dino Land last week. He had that call. He called it. It's coming to Animal Kingdom, but not in Dino Land. Braden called that, so I'm just saying.
But the person who spent, however, 4 or 5 years hyping up Disney, making videos all about Disney, getting everyone excited about Disney, getting everyone excited about new rides coming to Disney, is the same person that was complaining about the price of day tickets for the parks. Now, for me, the call's coming from inside the house. You have created that. You've helped create that problem. Don't be the one that's tweeting about, oh, it's so expensive. He can hold him accountable.
He's not on the board deciding ticket prices. He can hold and say this is a fun thing, but it's too expensive. Why are you hating?
But
don't hate.
If you are part of the problem, if you're the one that's
problem, if you dick riding the whole entire
leave
time,
Braden alone.
God damn, you're married, motherfucker. Get over it. You got a whole ass 2 kids and a husband. Oh my God. Not enough for that incel ass motherfucker.
On that positive note, should we hear about Ryan's trip report? I'm sure
we don't talk about Tiana and them.
Tiana and what?
Animatronic for Lewis looked. That animatronic for Lewis looked.
It's
pretty,
huge.
I was not expecting it to be like paws that big. Like it was
terrifying.
It was like that thing is. That's some engineering right there, completely built from the scrap, and everybody thought that he was just going to be.
I heard that they were like reusing all the old ones from the ride. That's what someone told me.
Who told you that?
Your boy.
No, never.
They've decimated. There was absolutely no budget for animatronics on this ride. There's going to be no animatronics. There's going to be nothing new. They've decimated the budget. There's no budget.
No one bats 1,000, Tommy.
Wakefield always be acting like every white mom who has a terrible fucking child when somebody tells them that their child is terrible when it comes to brain. Like my honey, my angel wouldn't have dreamt to do that. No, never.
He was just having a bad day. Just a bad day. Oh my God.
I think
he didn't have his Uncrustable for lunch that day. That's what happened. He's hypoglycemic. He had low blood sugar.
What's the odds of this man actually eating an Uncrustable right fucking now?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. That's hilarious, B.
All right, we're running late on time. Brian, we will get to your trip report next time, I promise. I swear we will.
Jesus Christ.
Tommy, where can we find you online?
At Tommy Hawkins on everything. I think everything that's worth bothering with.
Jalen, where can we find you?
Y'all can find me on Twitter at TCJalen, and y'all can also find me on Instagram at Tom Mario's Child, and on my other shows. Just click the link in the goddamn bio. You know what to do.
Ryan, last week you mentioned a new platform. What was it?
It's X, or are you talking about Blue Sky?
Blue Sky. What is Blue Sky?
It's invite only. So
you got in?
Yeah, I've been in Blue Sky. Honestly, I don't check it that much.
Okay,
I've got invites I can send out to that, but I can't remember how to log into it. So it will go the same way that Fred's.
Great.
Where I signed up and then it was really dead, so I left. Like a party.
Ryan, where can we find you?
I am at Imagineer6.
And you can find me everywhere at Wakefield Report. You can follow the E-Ticket Report on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, and Facebook. I just did a mea culpa on the Facebook group page. You can put in E-Ticket Report. We have a private group. I've killed all the spammers personally. Trying my best to get that group back up and active. So find us on Facebook. And of course, you can find the podcast everywhere on the Mice Chat, Mice Pod Network. Anything else for this week's show?
No, I think we've said enough, haven't we, for the next 3 to 5 months? So we're good.
Yeah, we'll see you all in December. That's all we have for this week. We'll see you all next time.
Wait, Horror Nights.